Kills Corner. Yeah. Good morning. So, the trending topic this week and all next week, of course, is Pacquiao Thurman. It's a huge fight. And questions come out all the time about Thurman. Is he ready? Is Pacquiao? Is he too old? Stuff like that. Crazy. Yeah. So I ran across an article on Boxing Scene. Shout out to Boxing Scene. And it was by Michael Rosenthal. And this just has Pacquiao decline. And if so, what does that mean versus Thurman? So, of course, the question is Manny Pacquiao the fighter he once was? Well, that's no, because he's 40 years old. Is he worse off or better off? Well, I mean, some ways yes, some ways no. Right? The most important question going into this challenge, well, showdown with Keith Thurman next Saturday, is how much he has declined and what role, if any, that decline will play in this fight. So, 2014 study of 3,000 something people aged 16 to 44 conducted in Canada determined a cognitive speed declines by about 15% every 15 years after the age of 24. So let's assume, for the purpose of this article, that Pacquiao has declined 15% from his peak a decade or more ago. The Pacquiao who overwhelmed Oscar De La Hoya, knocked out Ricky Hatton, almost stopped Miguel Cotto in 2008 and 2009, probably would have beaten Thurman handily. The Filipino's unusual hand and foot speed at a high volume of punches from every conceivable angle at that time was something to behold. One might argue that 85% of that Pacquiao is still better than 100% Thurman. Pacquiao looked quick and was plenty busy enough to stop Lucas Matthysse and defeat Adrian Broner by a one-sided decision in his last two fights, meaning he looked much like the Dynamo of old. And we shouldn't forget that Pacquiao, after 24 years as a professional boxer who has fought many times on the biggest stage, will have a wealth of knowledge from which to draw from as he tries to match wits with Thurman. Bernard Hopkins remained an elite fighter well into his 40s because of his rare boxing acumen, which allowed him to compensate for any decline in physical tools with savvy and efficiency. Also, it was different with Hopkins because Hopkins wasn't a move-around fighter like Pacquiao. Hopkins fought on the inside and movement was very little but very steady. Very educated moves. So maybe one might argue, yeah. So after 24 years as a professional, he's got a lot of knowledge in there. So whatever he declines in speed, foot speed, he will probably make up for ring savvy. Right. You got to have that. So maybe Pacquiao, with only slight diminished speed and reflexes combined with the experience of a veteran who has repeatedly and enough for him to overcome a prime young champion like Thurman. And maybe not. Who knows? No matter what we say. Maybe a 15% decline or even a 5 to 10% decline reduces Pacquiao to a different fighter who can beat the likes of a faded Matthysse and a small, reluctant Broner, but struggle against a big, legitimate welterweight and terrific athlete like Thurman. Well, we all have to wait and see. Pacquiao and Hopkins are very different fighters. Yes, but we saw Hopkins decline, with his last fight. He really was declined. He couldn't move that good anymore. The guy was all over him, ended up stopping him, through the ropes, whatever, whatever Hopkins says, yeah. So, we don't know. As we always say, you have to wait and see. Boxing is, you can write it on paper, anything in sports, really. I mean, you can have the best team on paper. You can have the best fighter on paper. And then they get in the ring and not the same. So, no matter what anyone says, we're all going to have to wait and see. Pacquiao just might overwhelm Thurman with his speed, as Freddie Roach says he will. Or we might see signs of an inevitable deterioration of the human body, which might not bode well for Pacquiao, or we might see something in between. We should learn a lot more fight night. So we'll have to wait and see fight night. Plain and simple. We can say whatever we want to say. You can write anything you want to write down. You can have boxing experts from around the world come around and say what they think. And, inevitably, it's going to come down to when they step in the ring July 20th. And so we'll see what happens then. That's all we can do. We can predict. We can say this. We can say that. We'll see what's up July 20th. I think he can do it. I don't think that Thurman is the biggest threat that he claims to be. If he is, he'll have to prove that next weekend. I think Pacquiao's got enough to take care of business. Hey, that just kills corner thoughts. And hands up, chin down, keep punching, keep that head moving, keep that head moving. Hey, it all comes down to fight night, and then we'll see the real deal. And now I'm out.